Awesome.
No problem.
Jahad, we are going live right now. So
Fantastic.
whenever I want to get started, we are good to go.
Okay, I love it. I love it. All right. Well, good afternoon, New York. My name is Jahad Hoyte, and I am the Vice President for SUNY Student Assembly. And good afternoon to the one and only Jerome Lamaar. Thank you for being with us, the SUNY Student Assembly today. Do you mind if I could talk about you for a few minutes? Is that okay?
Do your thing.
All righty. So Jerome Lamaar is a costume designer and creative consultant. He was born and raised in the Bronx, okay. And at an early age, Jerome understood the importance of color, culture, and design. His career began at the age of 15 working for Baby Phat by Kimora Lee Simmons as a junior creative director / brand coordinator. He later became a trend forecaster working with some of the world leading brands such as Nike, Adidas, L'Oreal, Stadium Goods, and Samsung. In 2013, he created his own brand called 531 Jerome. Now that's not a time, y'all, that's a brand, which was loved by Beyonce, Jay-Z, and Kim Kardashian, Missy Elliott, and Rihanna, and many others. In 2015, he opened up his own pop-up in the South Bronx, which shifted the image of the Bronx and landed him on the cover of the New York Times style section. His collaborative spirit has led Jerome to land many partnerships with Google, Samsung, Lincoln, and Puma. Not so long ago, he even created noteworthy costumes for the award-winning play As Much As I Can, an immersive theater experience. Recently, Jerome was one of the lead creative directors of Beyonce's Ivy Park partnership with Adidas. And let me tell you something, it was sold out. I was trying to buy something. So we have it here, Jerome. Thank you for being with us, honestly.
Thanks for having me.
Of course, anytime. We really want to at least, ask some questions, from, array of sort of questions, like, starting from like, diversity, equity, inclusion, and just personal questions. So are we ready to go? We're good. So as a person of color, what challenges did you face in your career and how did you overcome them?
So as a person of color, starting out when I did, I was pretty lucky because hip hop was such a big situation, but it was prior to social media. So my young face at my young age had so much experience, and I couldn't find the place for me when I left Baby Phat. So me being a person of color, a young Black designer, and super young, it was like an age thing at the time, really was tough. I mean, it wasn't an easy fight. So I had to actually create my own lane because there was no one like me at the time. And so I had to open up doors and create my own narrative, which is very important for every creative out there.
1,000%, I do agree with that. Opening up many doors. Now, that's really important. You have to open up many doors for the people behind you so they can walk through it too. So I agree with that 1,000%. Now, the next question would be, how did your time at FIT contribute to your success today? I know.
So growing up, I used to like go past FIT with my family and say to myself, like, that's where I'm gonna go. So it was a dream to attend and to be a designer there. It was awesome working as a student and also having this experience of that student partnership and collaboration spill over into my actual life, because I was actually working while in college. So, working in the industry, giving lectures on my own side, and then coming to school and doing the work and actually having to be a student, it was awesome to kind of fuse the understanding of the real world and the actual student body, which was awesome. So it was a growing experience for me. And I learned to basically make friends with everybody, because all those friends I made in school ended up becoming executives and design directors and photographers and people that I can just reach out to and simply say, hey, let's do a collaboration. So I'm really grateful for that time there. It was wonderful.
Like you said that you were working and also going to school. Like a lot of the people participating on live and in this chat as well are students.
Yeah.
How did you manage all that?
You know, looking back, I don't know how. And you know, it's crazy because the fashion design curriculum at FIT is not simple. It's a very tough process. You know, it was like they said it was equivalent to becoming a doctor, the amount of hours we created garments through, which is so crazy, you know? So I don't know how I got through it, but I knew my perseverance and my, you know, my vision for myself is what drove me through it. There was nights I had to like sleep in the hallway because I had to get garments done, you know, the same night for deadlines for finals. There was nights I had to come super early because I live in the Bronx. So I would commute from the Bronx super early, get to class super early, do the work if I have to, and then, you know, spend the whole day in the city, then come back. You know, the motivation, the perseverance, and the vision is what drove me and keeps me going to this very day. Like, I believe in motivation. I believe in doing things with intent. I believe in creating authentically, and I believe in just putting in the work. The work is always going to pay itself off.
Of course, and it shows, honestly. My follow-up question is like, what motivates you? What keeps you going? What gets that passion and that drive there? Like, what motivates you?
I mean, most of all, I mean, like I said, you know, just knowing what your vision is and what your narrative is, and also just challenging the norm. You know, I like the idea of just switching the script and making people think differently and see the world in a different way. And I think that's what my purpose is, you know, having an ability to influence people and still be relatable at the same time, so it can also inspire people to just do more. I keep getting so many Amazon deliveries, so that's one of them.
That's totally fine. Hey, I'm there with you. So if you had to give tips to someone who is trying to follow up in your footsteps, I know previously we talked about doors being open. What are your tips? Because, you know, you said you were sleeping in the hallways and everything like that. How do you like tell someone, hey, keep going?
So most of all, you have to understand, you know, not everyone's going to respect your vision, your concept, your story. So it's very important to understand and stay grounded in what it is that you stand for. That's going to be your drive. That's going to make you, you know, put in that extra work. I tell every designer that I meet or artist that I work with or, you know, brand that I deal with, what is your narrative? What is your, in a way, your own personal heritage? You know, we are all creating our own story. So you have to remember, yours, like I said in the beginning, your story is your story. And there's a reason why you're born. There's a reason why you're here. There's a reason why you are doing what you're doing, because everything happens for a reason and there are no mistakes. So you just have to stick through those hard times, the stressful deadlines, the stressful moments where you feel like you can't do it, and just persevere through it. Because when you get out of that, you can then look back and say, wow, like I did that and it wasn't that hard. And now you have another notch under your belt. So perseverance, knowing thyself, and again, having a strong vision that represents you and your story, because we all want to hear your story.
No, like that is like the most, I think, profound thing you can ever say is that, you know, someone's story, because you got to establish that to, you know, figure out what you want to do in life. You know, like I agree with you 1,000%. You know, we also are taking some questions from the outside audience as well. You know, my biggest thing is taking some questions from the outside is that, you know, they were asking, like one student was saying, what is your favorite thing about fashion design and the creative process?
So I kind of am on the outer skirts of fashion nowadays, simply because I've done it all already, right? So now I'm in this process of becoming more of a venture capitalist and finding new talent and embracing the new talent. What inspires me is newness. I need to see newness. I need to see freshness. I need to see authenticity. And I love seeing people just kind of flourish. I like nurturing people and guiding them to just see the world in their own perspective. And that's what I think all creatives should do as a designer, as an artist, etc. I keep saying the same kind of thing because they all, to me, it all connects. If you know, like, if you understand what motivates you, that's always going to carry throughout everything you do, whether it's cosmetics or designing sneakers or being a teacher. This is what you want to do, right? So that core and that knowing of self is always going to get you through it. And that's going to be the motivation. So my motivation is that.
Another question from the outside is, for seniors who are about to graduate during this difficult time,
Yes.
how would you advise them to prepare to go into a career like yours?
Wow. So I created my own world because when I left school, I left in 2007. And that was right before this crazy market shift, right? In 2008. So when I left school, I was already a veteran working, but I had to, again, stand my ground, to talk my talk and have my own perspective, which, 10 plus years later, I can honestly say I'm glad that I created my own world. Most designers leave school and they work for other designers, which is great. But fun fact, the fashion industry is trying to figure out what they're going to do. They don't know what they're going to do now, because right now, most designers will be designing their fall collection or spring collection for September, but they can't do that. Or deliveries will be delivered for fall and all this. So the whole fashion system has been on hold. And I'm grateful that I can still, work with clients and create and, give inspiration and still design, but not necessarily within the fashion industry. So my advice for every designer, every creative out there graduating, use all of your talents, use all of your abilities to create something that's authentic to you. Because now, this new world that we're entering, we want to get to know the person rather than, what the person's wearing. We want to know what this person is thinking about. We want to know what this person has to bring to the world, what is different from the previous world that we were just in. This is a whole new world that we're entering. I say this is called they used to call this, they called it the 20s, the roaring 20s. So I'm calling this the coughing 20s, which is basically, we're all coming in here coughing, but we got to get through it, and something new will always come out of it. Just like the roaring 20s, it was a whole new way of looking at hemlines and prohibition and all of that. Now, what is going to happen? What's going to happen to us now as we enter this new decade? So the creativity and the new thought is very important.
Yes, I agree with you when it comes to that. Like, one big thing SUNY SA is what we would like to talk about is diversity, equity, inclusion. And that takes a very big role. It plays a very big role in fashion. Now, can you talk about that a little bit when it comes to your ideas and everything like that, what that means to you, diversity, equity, inclusion in your work?
Yeah, absolutely. So whenever I enter a room, whether it's Google or Nike, I always scan a room to see see how many people of color, how many people are not the same, because sameness never creates great results, right? So, it's important to mix it up. And I think that's one of the most important things most brands are discovering now, that, all perspectives are needed to create and push humanity forward. So whether it's Google, when I go to Google, usually I'm, sometimes the only Black person in there lecturing, but I love it. They get to see, and the next time I come back, they discover and they have other people of color and other people of shapes and sizes, and it's not just the one sameness that I would see previously. So now Google has made a great job of just diversifying their group of people. So whenever I enter any room, I want them to always understand that it's important for a different voice to be heard. Period.
I agree with that. I agree with that. Voices are powerful when it comes to that. Yeah. And, I know you've had to definitely voice your opinion in numerous occasions when it comes to your, field of work. And when it comes to that, what was one of the most defining moments of your career? A moment where you were like, wow, I just did that. Or wow, I really just made it.
I have to admit, it was recent. It was working with Beyonce on Ivy Park. That was by far one of the best experiences of my life because my dream job was to work for Adidas. And they just never, here's the magic of it, right? They never responded to my emails. They never responded to, for client-wise, yes, for trend and concept, but never for jobs in-house, internally, which was always frustrating because I've always wanted to work for the brand. So when Beyonce reached out to me via phone, I realized that it was my moment to really just shine and be in the moment of saying, hey, I'm working with Beyonce. I am the creative director of this new launch that people are waiting for. And this is my perspective of how I see it should be, Adidas. So now Adidas was forced, to kind of work with me in that way. And it was a wonderful job to just have and experience with Beyonce sitting like right here.
I need to be you because I need to meet Beyonce.
Yeah, but that to me was the top of the top. And I've worked with celebrities, but she has amazing work ethic and I learned so much and I'm very grateful.
No, I'm glad. Like, oh, it's Beyonce, Queen Bee. You mentioned earlier, like, how you were saying that you made friends with primarily everyone. Now, we have students across SUNY that, may be more of an extrovert, like, or anything like that, may not really socialize that much. What are like some tips that you may give to some students who need to come out of their shell? Because that's hard.
I feel like this is what they used to say to me, a closed mouth doesn't get fed, right? So if you really want something, you have to, take initiative to go out and get it. And whether, the best part about social media is you can send a DM. They may or may not see it, but the next time you see them in person, you can always say, hey, I reached out to you. Can we talk about something or these concepts or these ideas? It's important to be prepared to, voice your opinion and also just ask questions. You don't have to be the best friend of the person you admire. You can simply go up to them and say, hi, I just need 1 second. Can you answer this question for me? And I'm pretty sure they will answer. This is what happened to me. Many years ago, a few years back, actually, I idolized Pharrell Williams. And he's the only artist I have never worked with. And I got a chance to see him. He was right next to me. And I choked up because I didn't know what to say to Pharrell. It's so weird. I work with everybody. I see everyone. And I realized, I said, wow, when you really want something, you can really, the fear factor comes up and you can really trip yourself over. So I tell everyone just always, fear is not real. It's in our minds. It's a mechanism that we created ourselves. If you just simply go past that line of fear, you can reach your goal and your potential and your dreams. Because looking back, I wish I wasn't so nervous and so shy to tell Pharrell how I felt about just what he's doing and how much he's been an inspiration for me as a creative. And mind you, it was a private dinner and I was invited by his team, but I was so shy to actually meet him.
Yeah, I mean, like, Pharrell's happy all the time, so let me stop. No, but no, we got some applause from people as well. Like, really, fear is something that really does, take over sometimes. And, I know from the beginning, you've had to overcome a lot of fears and you had to like step over a lot of boundaries. And like you said, you wanted to bring newness. Now with bringing newness, each and every time you kind of have to adapt. So what's your favorite thing about the fashion design and the creative process?
So the best part about the creative process is rediscovery. You get to revisit your childhood. You can revisit a memory. You can revisit a street, and it can inspire you to do something completely new because you have a different perspective, which is so magical. I also, think about a lot of my design and my concepts and where I see the world comes from my family. So I think of like, how did I experience this beautiful world through my parents' eyes, because they gave me everything I needed, whether it was art classes or, cool sneakers or cool toys. They allowed me to actually, sorry, it's a little loud out here. They allowed me to actually see the world with magic. And I think, you know, that was the most important thing as a kid for me. And so everything I do now, every time I reinvent a collection, I think about what is the magic? How is this going to make me feel inspired? How is this going to change the world through my perspective, my eyes? And yeah, this idea of magic is always going to surround me because of my upbringing.
No, 1,000%. You know, one of my favorite questions that someone actually just asked is,
Uh-huh.
where do you see yourself 5 years from now?
Oh, yes. Okay, so 5 years. Wow. 5 years from now, I probably will be an author because I want to have my book. I will probably, you know, maybe have my own show. I want to executive produce TV shows, so maybe there'll be a way for me to find new talent through my show. And 5 years from now, I will be 40. So hopefully I'll hit the Forbes list in my own way, which is so scary because I can't even, I can remember being, you know, 21, 19, I can remember it vividly. And now I'm 35 and I'm looking back and saying, wow, I did a lot, right? So by 40, I plan on being a more influential person and helping more people with more talent to get to where they need to go next.
No,
Hopefully I'm a
1,000%.
multi-millionaire.
Black don't crack. Black does not crack. But but I actually just want to ask, like, you know, as we come to a close, is, you know, if you had to give some tips, I know you briefly talked about it before, like any sending words to any people who are going through what you went through, do you have any advice?
Keep going. Keep going. Because everything, once again, happens for a reason. Everything. There was a time when I'm going to give you, I always give stories, so I think it helps. But when I was looking for a job after I left Baby Phat, because I was so sure of myself, so young, I just kept going. And I discovered myself through the process, which I think is very important. You know, none of this happens overnight. And if you just keep pushing through all those barriers and all those moments that you feel like you want to give up, you will definitely achieve your goal, because those are all obstacles given from another source to challenge you to be a better, more well-rounded person. So that's how I believe it. That's how I see it. And that's how I tell it. You know, you just have to push through it. Financially, sometimes it's not there. Push through it. You'll figure it out. Sometimes you don't have all the resources. You'll figure it out. Sometimes you don't know, you know, how you're gonna get to and from school sometimes, because I remember those days. It worked out. And looking back, I'm so happy that I kept going.
No, you gotta tell it like it is sometimes.
There it
We
is.
have a lot of people who could not make the Zoom call, but a lot of people on YouTube and Facebook honestly say that they love you and love your inspiration and words. And honestly, I loved at least being able to speak to you, especially someone who met Beyonce and Rihanna. But honestly, Jerome Lamaar, it's really been a pleasure at least speaking to you and honestly hearing from you and your passion and knowing that you're gonna be 40 and Black don't crack, and also you look very fantastic for your age and everything like that. So honestly, thank you for being with SUNY Student Assembly.
Thank you for having me.
Take care, everyone. Thank you so much.
Enjoy and keep going. That's it.
Tell it like it is. Take care, everyone.
Later, guys.
All right.